Welcome to our weekly tech review, where we explore the latest trends, news, and updates from the world of technology. This podcast is the perfect source for staying up to date with what is important to know right now. With me today, I have Vincent from Upday and Henrike from Free Tech Academy and myself. Hi, I am Tarek from Ideas Engineering. You can watch all episodes on YouTube or listen to us on all major podcast platforms such as Spotify and Apple Podcast while you work out, drive, or maybe even travel through space. So let's jump into the news. And today we will start with the latest from Henrike.
And the latest from space again. Because we didn't have that in a while.
Long time ago.
That is true.
Yeah, in a galaxy far, far away. So I brought an article about a new robot that has been developed for space exploration. It is an origami-like robot, so that actually catched my attention, as you know. Yet another example, and it's a shape-changing robot called Mori 3. As I already said, the robot can change its shape, move around, interact with objects and people, and it combines the ideas from digital polygon meshing and swarm behavior that can be found in biology. The Mori 3 can morph from 2D triangles into various 3D objects. So the biggest advantage of this robot is that it's pretty versatile in its shape, form, behavior, and everything. I think if you scroll down, there is a video coming up where you can also see how these triangular modules, how they're assembled and disassembled. Like, that's working quite easily. How they attach themselves to each other and then communicate in that way. So the Mori 3 is especially designed to fit into spacecraft where you do not have the space to store like specialized robots or different specialized robots because it's simply not, enough space or room there. So that's when this one should come in. And there you see it in action. And
that
I think
is pretty amazing.
It is. I also, if you just see the triangle, you're like, okay, whatever. Yeah. But if you see then how they assemble themselves to each other.
So for all our listeners who can't see the screen right now, this robot is basically built up of several segments, which can probably assemble themselves into like different combinations, right?
Yeah.
So that they can form a robot in a different shape. And it reminds me of science fiction where you see these nanites, where you have these microscopic robots that can assemble themselves to something bigger than like an Iron Man suit or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So this is once again a pretty cool sci-fi advancement.
Also, like how it's moving to the side, and then you can picture it like if you put it on Mars or whatever, and it can pretty easily, I guess, also climb over rocks and like unstable territory because it's that versatile and flexible. This is also quite cool example of how you can steer it as a human, like how you want it to act. I'm doing all these movements that nobody can see if you just listen to us, but maybe switch to YouTube and watch us.
We can promise they're great, yes.
And this I found is a cool like visualization of how you can imagine these forms working then.
Right. And this is what I wanted to ask, Henrike. Can you say a few more words maybe about the assembly? Does it need a solid surface? Or is this something that we could potentially also see it just in space without having a surface to rely on?
Yeah, because you saw. That's the question. I think that's the aim and that should be possible. Obviously, in the material that is in the video, you see how they are on a surface, like moving towards each other and then assemble or connect themselves and then start, like building up and start moving. But it looks like this can also work on like I don't know, a rocket floor.
It looked like they had their own motors, right? So technically,
they
as long as there's
each
one
move individually, and then connect and become one, and then can disassemble again and become separate.
So maybe
parts.
in orbit or somewhere, this is also an option.
Absolutely, and this is also then why it's great to put it into spacecrafts where there's not so much storage space, because you can just put like as many of these triangles as you need. Put in there and kind of stack them, I guess, and then put them out and they assemble themselves. Yeah.
Maybe we just disassemble the rocket built with these to then do anything.
I mean, right now it's all science fiction, but it really sounds like the beginning of this multi-purpose robotic application where you have this robot. Let's imagine these triangles become smaller and smaller, and you have a robot in a humanoid form helping you as an assistant or something, and then it can disassemble itself and reassemble as like a space rover or something, and then you can drive on it through certain terrains, or maybe it's like an arachnoid walking like a spider through rocky terrains or something where you can't use wheels. And these things, and then it can, like 5 of those can reassemble themselves into a hut where you can live in. Yeah, very nice. Or of course.
What else?
Finally, you're mentioning it. What we all thought.
If it is then controlled by artificial intelligence, we all know what is going to happen in the long run.
Now we need Alex to tell Sarah Connor to hide us.
True, no, but it's really cool. And what I really love in these articles is that it's not like a scientific paper where someone says, oh, we could potentially build this. But for everyone who actually sees the podcast right now on video, we have seen videos of the prototypical application. So these things are already existing and they are already doing what the scientists are promising. So this is not theoretical anymore. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to see the practical applications of this. And not only in space, but I'm sure that these things are also going to be applied at terrestrial use cases. And now, pay attention.
And now, this.
Hey.
I upgraded my soundboard.
We missed it.
All right, so let's continue with my article about the Apple's Vision Pro SDK, which is now available, and in-person developer labs launch next month. Apple's Vision OS software development kit SDK for the Vision Pro headset is now available, even though the Vision Pro is not for sale yet. The SDK allows third-party developers to build content for the headset before its official release in early 2024. And Apple hopes that developers' interest will drive excitement around the system. The SDK is built on familiar dev tools like Xcode, SwiftUI, RealityKit, ARKit, and TestFlight. So if you are already an Apple developer or like an iOS developer, then you are very familiar with all the tools and the SDKs that you need to get started with Vision OS development. And Apple aims to lower the barrier of entry for existing developers and encourages porting existing software to the new platform. Apple introduces Reality Composer Pro, making it easier to preview 3D models, images, sounds, and animation for this headset, and Unity development tools will be added next month, addressing the absence of gaming experiences in the original presentation. And this is true. I was thinking about that, if this was on purpose, because they did not want to enter like the same turf as the Quest and the already existing platforms, which are mainly targeted to gaming content and gaming users, while the Vision Pro looked like productivity and entertainment focused. Yeah, but obviously they say, okay, Unity comes next, and then they are also going to support game development. Apple plans to open developer labs in several cities to provide access to the hardware for testing, and enterprise applications are expected to be a key focus for the Vision Pro headset, and collaboration and design decision-making capabilities are highlighted as significant benefits of the Vision Pro for manufacturers and stakeholders. And in these development centers, Apple is going to build like testing grounds where development teams can come in and test their applications that they build offsite, then directly on the device. And if I read it correctly, they will also hand out like for rent headsets, which the companies or the teams can then take for like a limited time to test and develop their software. But right now it is all like very far away from the real delivery of the headset, which will come next year. And obviously Apple is planning for the release, when this thing is then actually going into the first consumer hands, to have a huge like source of apps already ready for deployment. And I always talk about the magic leap whenever we talk about the Apple headset, but it was the same thing back then in 2018 where they released this thing first for the developers so that they can then start developing apps, because it's very sad if you pay, in this case, like what was it, $3,500 and then you only have 5 apps to be installed. This is
plus
very
tax.
sad. Yeah.
Plus taxes, yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so
But
it is. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, I just want to say it's probably a smart course to open up now for the developers, and it would not have been possible to start this process without the announcement of the headset on the WWDC.
I'm just wondering, when you say those development centers where people can go to, is that planned to be international? So is it just in the US, or is there also going to be one in Germany, UK, Europe?
Yes, there is the article actually gives us a list, and it says
Cupertino
Cupertino in California, London in England, Munich in Germany, Shanghai, Singapore, and Tokyo. Those will be the first developer labs. I could imagine that they are going to open more, but this is probably the first bunch that they are going to equip with their hardware. And probably it's like the places where most of the developer hubs are located.
Tarek, what I really like, I really love that Apple is putting out this kit so that we can start working on our new apps for this. I think it's a bit unfortunate because obviously we know that just because they're launching this, it does not mean that all of it will be available to us soon. And I just had the discussion here at work at Update, because Update has an iOS app, and as people who know me in my private life know, I recently bought an Apple Watch, and so now obviously I'm hunting for the best apps on Apple Watch, which means that we need a watchOS app. So my question back then was, how difficult is to convert an iOS app into a watchOS app? Just because I know that the form factor might be different. And we saw on the iPad, but that's running iOS as well, that this is very easily possible. I mean, it is iPadOS now. However, iPadOS is just basically something for Apple to distribute features in a different way, while it still runs on an iOS kernel. And my question is, just because I know I was told it is kind of difficult to go from iOS to watchOS. What do you think? How difficult, like you as a full stack developer, how difficult is it actually from, say, a successful iOS app or a successful macOS app or watchOS app? How difficult is it to go from there with Apple's help and all based on Swift to Vision OS?
Yeah, of course, I can't speak out of like personal first-hand experience because I have never had this device in my hands. I could imagine that on the one hand, it will be fairly easy because they are going to support all of their existing tools. So if you developed your system already on Xcode, or for example in 3D on the AR kit for mobile AR application, then porting it to the new device might be fairly easy. One thing that we always have to keep in mind is, for example, the energy consumption, because operating this new device on this new, what was it, the battery pack which only lasts 2 hours.
2 hours on a full charge.
I think right. The first edition will have like 2 hours of charge. So you need to be quite careful what you are going to run on this. So if you are literally having a mobile game that you are having on the iPhone and you want to move it to this new device, you might want to make it as efficient as possible. So it might be easy to move it to this new platform, but moving it efficiently so that it runs as you expected and won't kill the device within 10 minutes or so, these optimizations might be the most hard one. But as I said, this is like my speculation, what I expect to happen. But as Apple usually is doing in terms of portability, I could imagine that they had this in mind when they designed the system. And so there will probably a lot of stuff that is reusable from the previous editions. Or as I said, especially if you already work with Unity or ARKit for 3D modeling.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And now, this.
So let's continue with Vincent.
TikTok, exactly. Yeah, so this article is about TikTok, and they're not giving up on affiliate. It is crazy what they're trying to do. I think the potential comes from, like, what they see, the potential of what TikTok is seeing is Douyin in China, where affiliate is a huge revenue stream ultimately now. There, and this is why they're pushing into the Western market. They did try it with just onboard shop and saw the same results as Instagram, which were that customers didn't really love it. And I mean, I think that's also very common here in Europe, but not only in the United States. So now in this time they're trying it in Europe. They started in the UK, and in the UK there was a new section of the app called Trendy. And Trendy is something I find extremely smart, which is explained in the article. TikTok is scanning its own app and the content created on there based on specific KPIs for trending products. Then TikTok currently operates a completely ByteDance own company for affiliate, for shopping, for merchandising, and for shipment. That company is based in China. That company acquires trending products on the app in the name of TikTok and sells it to customers in the TikTok app. And I find this extremely clever, but I do find it also extremely dangerous and intimidating, because TikTok has all this data, right? All this data they're not sharing. Okay, so far so good, right? They're keeping it within themselves. But they're taking this data to then analyze what's really trending right now. What kind of plastic, I don't know, fix your life DIY kind of solution to get cat hair off your clothes or anything like that is currently trending. No, they see that. And then they buy big amounts of it, huge amounts of this product, and then sell it with a extreme price decrease. They're trying to undersell everyone who's selling these on the market at that time to move people into the TikTok app. Two major ideas are behind this, also mentioned in the article. Number one is that TikTok heavily tries to get just these kind of shopping experiences into their app. And the reason for that is because they have not only TikTok, but they also have another app that is also mentioned in the article a bit below, currently in the US, that also is trying to do affiliate and is trying to sell hard products to customers in the US. So TikTok / ByteDance, in a global strategy, is really trying to bring these products into the market. That's number one. And number two is that they failed already once. So now they want to make the case that this is a viable opportunity for business owners to connect to the customers. So they need a best case. And if they don't find one that is doing it right, they're doing it themselves. This is why they're doing it. So Trendy Beat, it's available in the UK. If anyone is listening or watching in the UK, you might have this feature specifically when you're on test flight or the beta version on Android. And yeah, we'll see if it's going to be rolled out to the rest of Europe. But I find it extremely smart and again, extremely intimidating as well.
Yeah, but this is something that I always keep an eye on, because we had this discussion for a long time about the capability of monetizing short form content while it is booming everywhere, and we see this big battle of Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and of course the big player TikTok, while nobody was back then profitable yet. And I don't know if they are already profitable each in their own niche with their experiments with advertising and their at the same time monetization capabilities for their users, but having like buying and selling like their own stuff on their app based on their analytics data, or like promoting it based on the analytics data, might be another way to finally solve this problem. Yeah. Does this article say anything about their estimations, if this is going to be a cash cow, or if this is really just a blind experiment to make money?
I think it is kind of both. So TikTok or more ByteDance is operating a lot of apps also outside of China. And all of them are kind of related to what they're doing in China. In China, ByteDance is seeing a huge bump in revenue via affiliate. So as far as I understand, it's both. They really want to try to move customers more into the direction of their product strategy globally, and they also try it as an experiment. Yeah.
And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Just like a really side comment, but Vincent now said China, I think 3 or 4 times, and I thought even earlier on soundboard.
Wait for it.
China.
Thank you.
That is true. I still have to automate. I mean, we now have the soundboard. I can press the button, but even better it will be when I automate this, and whenever like the microphone or like my listener hears the word China, it should automatically fire this event. I as you said, I'm a full stack developer. I have to implement this.
Next feature. Yeah.
Right. Goes to my list. Where were we? Side comment. Right. And of course, you said UK launch, very interesting, but we as European citizens, for us it will be very interesting as well if this new feature or product is going to be launched in Europe, because we all know Europe is kind of special when it comes to innovation and new products, especially if they are like analytics based. So let's see if Trendy Beats will hit Europe.
I am also excited that specifically Europe was picked for this, but I think actually that, like from a legal perspective, my gut feeling would tell me that actually TikTok is quite in what it's within their own app with content that like analytics they can make, and they're just selling via a Hong Kong operated company. So it is not like there are any, as far as I understand, any specific embargoes on these. So I think that's just a really clever move. If it works out, that's just a really clever move.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if they then manage to establish it in Europe first, which is, as Tarek implied, like the most difficult one, then it's, it's easier to roll it out somewhere else as well.
Yeah, that is true. And probably in the first run, nobody's going to challenge it. But if their selling model is as successful as their content model and their algorithm, and they start like becoming more successful as Amazon and killing like all the merchants in Europe, then they probably will start hunting for them with their what's the English word? Kartellamt.
I mean, it's all a question of how much is it a monopole, right? How much is it just one player? And I mean, we saw that if anybody, I don't know, if anyone who's listening, who did listen, I'm pretty sure that Tarek at least did that. If you reinstalled a clean version of Windows 7 and you put in the latest, like I think Service Pack 1 back then, Windows 7 showed you a selection of browser options to choose from: Opera, Chrome, Edge. It wasn't Edge back then, I'm sorry, it was Internet Explorer, and these kind of things. And that was because Microsoft lost a big battle against other, and Firefox, of course, against other browser operators, because it said, even though it is all within the Microsoft and Windows environment, they're so powerful with this that actually they also need to show other options, because otherwise they will just, as a monopole, just get rid of everybody else. And we will see if this is happening here. But I think that TikTok has a better case to make, because Microsoft, obviously with Windows, is just is so big that in the end, even though we may here in Berlin experience that a lot of people have a Mac, around the globe, a lot of people have Windows operated computer. And so this is not comparable to TikTok, even though they have a big market share. There are other really heavy players dipping into this market with YouTube, with TikTok, with Instagram, Facebook, Snap, and a lot of others. So I think that TikTok has a much better case to make, saying that they're far away from a monopole when it comes to in-app shopping and analytics.
Yeah, that is true. But we know how powerful TikTok is, and so let's have this conversation again in like 3 or 6 months.
I mean, maybe it doesn't even take off, and then we don't. But yes, let's look at that.
Right. All right, yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much for all your contributions. Talk to you next week. Bye.